So hello, Maria McMahon here with you, and in today's video I'm going to talk about red flag number 31, which is from my book, The Top 50 Red Flags of Romantic Predators, How to Avoid the Narcissist's Trap. So I've done videos from 1 to 30 talking just briefly about each flag, but if you want to know more, then I would definitely recommend you check out my book, The Top 50 Red Flags. I'll put a link to it below. So red flag number 31 is that narcissists are supreme blame shifters. Now, I've lost count of the times that I've heard from, people in my group members. They're sick and tired of being blamed for everything going wrong in the relationship. And it doesn't matter if it's a narcissistic partner, or if it's a parent or a spouse or a work colleague. They all blame just the same. And they make it so that you can do absolutely nothing right, and no matter how hard you try, you're still found wanting. And a narcissist will blame you for things that have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with you. So you'll get excuses like, well, they had a bad day at work, and it's your fault because you upset them the night before. Or they don't feel well, and it's your fault because, absurd as this might sound, I've heard it, your cooking is terrible, and maybe you're trying to poison them. Maybe they don't want to have sex with you, but that's your fault because you've let yourself go, or because you're not desirable anymore, or because you've put on weight, or whatever. And those are just a few of the basic examples, but the thing about blame shifting is that it gets much more complicated than the obvious stuff. Now, the narcissist will use this tactic to invalidate everything about you. So, for example, if they upset you and you try pointing out why, they'll laugh at you, they'll dismiss it as trivial, or they'll ridicule you. And they'll trot out any number of what could be called classic phrases when you really dig into narcissistic behaviour and how they think and how they behave and how they talk. So you'll hear phrases such as, you're too sensitive, or you can't take a joke, or you're crazy, or, why don't you just calm down? Another one they'll say is, why is it always about you? And yeah, when you really know the narcissistic behaviour, that is laughable, except it isn't funny. Anything they do isn't funny unless you're in a place where you can step back and see how ridiculous it is and see the funny side of it. They will say that you're hysterical, and they don't mean that you're hysterically funny. They mean that you are literally hysterical, which is also ludicrous because quite often it's them that's hysterical. They'll say you don't understand me, or I'm tired of trying to understand you. And all these are aimed at undermining and belittling you. So what happens here is that suddenly the focus has shifted to you, completely overlooking the problem, the reality of the problem that's going on, and it suddenly all becomes your fault. And because you're often emotionally wrecked, brainwashed, and traumatized, by the time this starts happening, you'll actually find that you'll turn the focus to yourself also, and you'll start thinking, well, maybe it is my fault after all. Maybe I'm to blame. Now, you're not, of course, and I want to shout that loud, you're absolutely not to blame. It's all part of the narcissist's plan to undermine your sense of self. And again, it's very easy for them to subtly push you from here into feeling guilty that you're not giving the relationship or them what they need. So there's always a pattern and there's always a trajectory with narcissistic behaviour. They always have, an end game, an agenda. So they'll blame you and then they'll start heaping the guilt on you. You see how this works? And if you have experience of this, then please do share in the comments. I really like when people take the time to share comments and what their experience is compared with what I'm saying, because it really helps to validate, for you and for other people who come to watch the video, that This is what happens. This is the kind of thing that goes on with narcissists. Now, even in the case where they cannot deny something that they've said or done, they will still blame you because they can't take criticism or shame of any kind. Now, whatever the issue at stake is, it'll be your fault because you upset them, you didn't love them enough, you made them unhappy or mad or sad or whatever. They will always wriggle out of it and place the blame squarely on your shoulders. So how do you avoid this trap? And how do you stop all this happening to you? Now, my advice is, and I've talked about grounding yourself in reality, I talked about that before, writing things down and confiding in a trusted friend. I've talked about all these previously, and those 3 tips come into play again here. So just stop whatever you're doing, tune into yourself and check what's going on in your body. How are you feeling? Write it all down. Then call a friend as soon as you can and just discuss how you're feeling with them. And get it very clear in your head that you are not at fault here, so don't start accepting false blame. Just outright refuse. Simple as that. But another thing, having said that, is don't try to get the narcissist to take responsibility or admit what they're doing. Because trying to get a narcissist to take responsibility and accept blame is a total waste of your time and energy. And the more you try, the more you feed their desire for fuel and the more opportunity you give them to further twist and warp the truth. And this is particularly so if you're dealing with, say, a cerebral narcissist who will often run intellectual rings around you. And you will just exhaust yourself and end up more upset and shouldering the blame. So don't engage. Now you can win this one by exercising the 3 tips that I've just mentioned, writing it down, grounding yourself, writing it down and talking to a friend. And knowing this and just letting them believe that they've won, the narcissist, letting them believe they've won, can actually be the best hand you play if you're still stuck in the relationship and you're planning your exit strategy and getting out, of course, because I always advocate for getting out of the relationship if there's any way you can. If you absolutely can't and you're totally stuck, then we look at other tactics and techniques that you can use to try and keep yourself sane. But ultimately, no matter how long it takes you, I always say, get out of the relationship. So thank you for watching this, and I hope you'll come back very, very soon so that I can talk to you about the next red flag in the series, okay? Which will be red flag number 32, and I'm going to be talking about projection in that. So hit like, subscribe, and come back and see me soon, and check in with me and learn about projection in case you don't know. Okay, thank you.